All right, so this is going to be a review of Inside Out 2, the sequel to Inside Out, what I believe to be is one of the best Pixar movies. This one's directed by Kelsey Mann. I believe the other one was directed by two other directors, so this is a different director on this one. I saw this last week, but I'm just now getting around to reviewing it because I've been sick. You can probably hear it in my sinuses. It's not great, but we'll get through this. I've thought about this, what I think about a lot of sequels that come out years later. I mean, it's been almost a decade since that first movie. Is that, it could potentially feel forced. But after rewatching that first movie, which I still love, still makes me tear up every time, uh, they did set this one up, right? Like there is the setup there to where it's like, okay, if they want to keep going, I mean, the door's open. So this isn't completely coming out of nowhere. In this, Riley's now a teenager. I believe she's 13. Her emotions are getting along. Everything seems to be going smooth. But then the puberty alarm goes off and some new emotions come in. So there's embarrassment, boredom, envy, and anxiety. They end up just taking over Riley, right? Bottling up the other emotions and just sending them away. And they start to kind of change the way that she is really. She loses her sense of self and starts to do things that are completely out of character, and she starts to kind of lose it. And while this is happening, she's at this hockey camp, and she has her two friends that are also, they also play hockey. They're also at this camp. For reasons they're not going to be at school with her, after camp, like when she actually goes to high school. And she's really afraid of being at high school by herself. So she's really trying to fit in with these other girls that are already on the team. One that she's already kind of a fan of, and she's really going through a lot. So her other emotions have to try to get back in control, and especially take control away from anxiety. So I think this movie is great. I think there's one main thing that kind of sticks in the back of my mind while I was watching it and even walking out. But great performances, great animation, beautiful. The score is still great and still hits all those emotional beats. I like the stuff with the old emotions and the new emotions, especially anxiety. Man, there's so many new concepts. It's crazy. Like, the deepest, darkest secrets is locked up in a jail inside of you. Bottled up emotions. Especially the stuff with anxiety, like keeping her up, right? Like the emotions, they're on the outside. They're looking up. They're like, hey, why are the lights still on? It's nighttime, and it's anxiety, just like using the imagination to think of all the ways that things could go wrong and just keeping her up thinking about that. I was like, wow, man, the way that they did this, even small stuff like, oh, she's self-conscious about the way that she swings her arms when she walks. I mean, stuff like that is just, it's so relatable. Her talking to the girl that she's like a fan of that's already on the team, she's trying to impress her, and her emotions kind of get the better of her, and she's saying certain things. It's just real, like, it seems like she starts rattling off things about the girl, and they're just now meeting for the first time, which is kind of weird. And she feels embarrassment from the way she's acting, and we're sitting in the seats in the theater feeling secondhand embarrassment. Like, I was moving around in the seat, like it was rough. Like, you're sitting there, it's almost like you're there with her, and you're like, ugh, what the. So the problem with this movie, the major problem I had walking out, is that it just didn't have the same level of emotional impact as that first movie. That first movie moves me to tears every time I watch it, whereas this movie never got me there. I felt the emotional moments, but they just weren't to the same. They weren't to the same level. I believe it's because this movie has just lower emotional stakes. The first movie, I mean, she steals from her mom and buys a bus ticket. She's actually on the bus running away. Right, her life is completely turned upside down. Like, this is horrible. And the moment of her coming back home and finally just like letting her emotions go, and telling her parents how she's been feeling this whole time throughout the movie, it's so emotionally powerful. It moves me to tears every time. And I just didn't get that here. I felt for her, especially when she's doing certain things. You do have a similar situation where she's doing things that are completely out of character that she shouldn't be doing. But it's just not on the same level, I don't think, right? As terrible as she's being to her old friends, and you relate to her, even though what she's doing isn't right. You relate to her trying to get closer to these other friends. She doesn't want to be alone at school when she starts high school. You get all that and you feel all that, and I think that's done really well. But when it comes down to the overall stakes, the overall emotional stakes, I think they should have been ramped up a little bit more to kind of fit more with the level that that first movie gets to. Like I said, I like these new concepts, sense of self, bottle up emotions, your anxiety keeping you up at night, and your anxiety making you think of all the different ways things can go wrong, and you overcorrect and kind of mess things up as a result of that. So many well done concepts here. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't have the same impact, so it just can't stand next to that first movie for me, and it ends up actually being less memorable and having just less of an overall impact. Like I said, I'm gonna give this awesome, not quite my highest rating, because I couldn't get there because of that reason, that it just didn't have enough of a it just didn't get to me emotionally enough, unlike that first movie. But anyway, that is Inside Out 2, and yeah, we're done.